Hello, I'm Crafty Patty. Thank you for coming back again. If you did watch my last video, you saw how I was making the cloth paper. I will leave a link to how to make the fabric paper, these little journal books, in the description box below for you. And of course, all the supplies for this video will be in the description box below as well. Well, being that I had this little tiny mini journal made, I wanted some pretty papers to go inside. So I decided to make some coffee stained papers, and I'm really happy with how they turned out. Have a look. And I'll show you the process I use to get these beautiful results and a few little things that you can make with them. So keep watching. Filling my Pyrex dish with boiled water. This is probably a 9 by 13 inch pan. And I think I'll fill it halfway full. 1/3 cup of Nescafe, any coffee you want. 1/3 of a cup. This is 22-pound regular copy paper that goes through your printer. I'm going to start with 2 sheets on the bottom. And I've got all these different kind of stencils. I've got some larger ones and I've got some smaller ones. I'm just having fun here. We're just going to do some trial and error here. Pop that one down. 2 more pieces of paper. Let's try one of these stencils. Just for fun, let's sprinkle on just a few coffee granulars here and there, some different texture, and just keep layering them in. 2 pieces at a time. And I'm going to pop these canning jars on just to weigh it down. And I'm going to take this to the sink and I'm going to let most of this coffee mixture drain off. Just drained off most of the liquid, and I'm just going to put these back in because I was hoping that the weight would allow for those imprints to work really well. And now I'm just going to let that sit overnight. And here's the morning after for the final reveal. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get all of it out of the pan. And if the bottom one sticks, I don't mind because I've got lots of other ones to work with. But it looks like we're doing pretty good. All right, we got them all out. Now, if you remember, I did these all in 2s. So in between every 2 sheets, I should have a stencil. So I'm going to try to find my 2s. There we go. There's a stencil. So I'm just going to take those off. And then I'll separate my 2s as well. So I'm going to go through and separate all these. And then I'll show you the final reveal when I get these all separated. The ones that are still wet and haven't really done too much of anything, you can add some salt on it, and that should pull out the moisture and leave a pattern behind. But it has to be wet. You can come in while it's still wet with your stencil still on top. I left these stencils on, and then I'm just going to blow dry it dry. And then take your stencils off, and you'll have a nice pattern. Voila! And then you can just finish drying it up. And the reveal for the fern leaf. Very pretty. Remember, we did 2 papers each, so I'm just going to take this one off. This one is still wet, and we can still put a stencil over there and get a design. So let's come in back with the stencil. I'm just going to put it right up into the corner there. Hold it down, blow dry it again, and you'll get a design. You get more of a faint design, but it still works because this is after the effect, but you can still make use of it and get a nice pattern in there, nice and faint. And the ones with salt, the bigger salt crystals will obviously make a bigger pattern, and then the small ones will make a smaller pattern. And here's the salt doing its thing. When it's finished pulling out all the pigment, you can just shake that off. Here's 3 more wonderful prints for you. The sun came out. I'm going, yes. So I put these outside. I was waiting for that sunshine to come out. And I had wet the paper. I put the stencils down and just left them to sit for a couple hours. So this is what I've got from that wonderful sunshine. Here's this one. And that one's turned out lovely. And here's another one. And look at that. That's beautiful. Really beautiful print. And one more. There's the fern. And there's the fern. This one, I wet the paper again because there wasn't much on this one. Put my stencil down and I just left it for a couple hours. And that's what we've got on this one. That one turned out really lovely as well. And here's another one. Stencil on, left it. And another beautiful imprint as well. So the sunshine and just letting them sit on their own works really well. This batch I made 22 copy stained sheets, and as you saw in the video, I did some just really naturally, and so this has just a really, really subtle design, which is lovely too. And most of these are on the subtle side, but I like that. Another subtle one. And I left all these because that's a nice effect as well. And that one's getting a little bit more of a print on it. And that one a bit more. A little bit more subtle and natural looking, but still a beautiful print. These are the ones that came out on the faded side. I thought I'll use it to redo another one. I re-wet the paper, re-added the stencil, and I let them sit just for a couple hours and let them air dry on its own. And this is what I got. Beautiful. And these are the ones that I just added salt on top, like a rock salt or a heavy salt for grinding. It's actually sea salt I use, but you could use any salt. Because I've got such a pretty little backing here for the inside of my journal, I wanted to make sure I had some of that showing on the inside. So I've cut my pages, so I've got a nice border all the way around. Once you've figured out your page size, then you can come in and cut your coffee stain papers. You can choose to get 2 pages out of one piece here if you want. But if you have a design you're trying to capture, then of course you can just come in and grab that design and then just cut around the design, and then you'll have that whole area on your pages. And then you can just cut around your shape. This is just an easy way to grab your design without having to use the grid lines on your board. And then that way we've got the exact image. I ended up going with 12 pieces of stained paper. So once you've got them all lined up, then you can just put them in place. Hold them in place will be added to our cover. I'm going to punch 3 holes in my paper, and I'm just going to use my air erasable fabric pen just to make a little marking. And I'm using my little ruler just so I can make a mark at 1 inch on here, and down on this end here I'll come up 1 inch, and we'll put another mark there. So there's my 3 holes that I need to create. I'm going to try using the Alexanderson 3-in-1 tool I use for sewing. It has 1 sharp stiletto on the end, so I'm going to use that to punch my hole. I don't want my hole really big, so I don't want to use a hole punch. And you could try maybe like use an awl or something, anything with a sharp point on it to create a hole. So I'll just come down into here, get it started. Make sure you're working on a surface you don't want to create a hole on the back. And then once you get that started, you can lift it up and come through the other side. Just be very careful. I don't want you to hurt yourselves. There's that one. And the same for the other 2. Okay, once you've made your 3 marks in your paper, bring your little book back and place it in your book so it looks like it's even. And then I'm going to come in with my fabric marking pen hold it all in place with your clips so it stays in place. Come into this one. It actually goes through quite well for this part. Okay, we've got our holes done. Now we can thread it with whatever you want. It can be ribbon, elastic cord, embroidery cotton, yarn, whatever your desire is. I ended up finding a scrap piece of embroidery cotton in my stash, so I will use that. It matches beautifully with the little flowers. And I've got about 40 inches here, but I probably won't need all that. I can always cut off the remainder. So just finding a large-eyed needle, get that threaded, and we can thread it up. We're going to go through the middle first. And leave some length in the middle so you can tie a bow or a knot. And then from the back side, I'm going to come up through this hole. Back down through this hole. And then up through this hole. Then I'm going to place it underneath this one. And then we can tie these 2 together. Give it a nice little tug, not so tight that you won't be able to close your pages, but enough that it will hold it together. So from this way, I've just done a half twist this way, and that will hold it together, and then tie it off into your knot. And then because we've tied under here, that knot will not go all the way through, it will stay. But if you want to make it a little bit more secure, you can come back through this one, come under that one now, and just tie one more knot. And then just cut off your ends. And that is the middle part of your book. You've now got your cute little binding on the outside and all those beautiful coffee stained pages on the inside. You can have a lot of fun with that. It'll just give you inspiration. I might just use this for writing down my craft ideas, and I can refer to this and it'll inspire me to make more beautiful crafts just for you guys. To close it up, I've just added a piece of basic elastic and I've slipped it through the binding on the back here. And then you can open it up, and easy enough to bring this back again to close it up. Now, you can leave it just white. It's fine. It doesn't really kind of match what I've got on my cover here. So I have some acrylic paint pens, and I'm going to use some of those to add a bit of color to my elastic, just to have some more fun. Just some of the same colors that are in the napkin that I chose. That makes it look not quite so stark white, and it blends in with my little cover. And I just want to make nice things. Just because I liked the dark edge it created on the coffee stain, so I just cut 3 pieces, put a stamp on those. There's another card. And this one here just made it look like the water stain looked like a bit of a hill, so I just added in some trees, and there's the background on that one. And sometimes less is more, so I'm just going to leave that one alone and just leave it as it is. If you want to add a little bit of color to them, then by all means, these Artistro paint marker pens are great. And these ones are just activated by pressing down on the tip until the ink flows in it. You make sure you give it a little bit of a shake to make sure it's all mixed in, and then it's ready to go. So if you want to add in some little accents, you certainly can with these pens, just to give it a little bit more of a little boost. And the beauty of the stamp I use, I should show you, it's by Pink Fresh Detail Black, and it's a hybrid ink, alcohol marker and watercolor friendly, which means that if you go in these lines, it's not going to bleed. So that is really important if you're using any water products or these acrylic pens, then that black outline is going to stay exactly where it is, which is perfect. Yeah, so then you can just have fun and color away in between the lines or outside the lines or whatever you want to do. And then I'll show you the final card when I am finished. For this card, I'm going to try to grab this image here because that will fit nicely on this card. But I don't want the edges, and I don't want this one water spot. So what I'm going to do is, like I did in my other video, if you guys watched it, is just to take some water and I'm going to draw around my image, and then I'm going to rip it so it's got a nice jagged edge. All right, so now I'm just going to come in here and rip along where it's wet and get it all jaggedy. And I decided I'm going to rip right up into here as well. And I think I'm going to put it on like that, but I'm going to rip the bottom here so it will fit onto the card. And I think that will work. That will fit on. So I'm just going to dry this up with the blow dryer, and then we're going to put it on with some double-sided tape, and that will be another beautiful card. You can use double-sided tape like this. It's easy to just take off and cut the amount that you need. And for this project, it's probably going to work the best because then I can get into all the little pieces. But you could also use tape like this, where it's sticking on the back side. You just roll off a piece. I'll put one right down the middle here. Tear it off. Make sure it's on well. And then you just have to peel off the backing. And you're left with the sticky tape. So I'll add a few more pieces around here, probably with this tape, because I can get into the little areas better. It should be good. And then just get it centered where you want it. Now, if you want to add any sayings, then bring it over to one side, and then you could put like happy birthday or thinking of you, or another one of my motivational quotes, which I think I might do that. So I'm going to actually off-center it. We'll put it right there. And here's a little quote I found. Everything has beauty. And it really does, doesn't it? And there's another idea for you. I'm half thinking, oh, maybe I should just lift those off. But it's okay. It makes a statement, and I like what it says. I'm curious, which card do you like the best? Well, I hope you had fun with that and you are as successful as I was with these wonderful prints. Maybe if you get a really nice one, you can frame it and put it on your wall. Or make the cards like I showed you how to make, or make your journals. Thanks again for watching. Until next time, bye-bye.